The instinctive genius. You know that feeling when you're watching a match and something happens that makes absolutely no sense? A pass that shouldn't exist. A turn in a space that wasn't there a second ago. A flick that defies physics. And you just sit there thinking, how did they even see that? The instinctive genius. These players don't think, they feel. Football for them isn't a tactical puzzle or a physical challenge. It's an art form, pure expression. They operate on instinct, reacting to the game in ways that can't be taught, can't be drilled, can't be explained. Ronaldinho is the perfect example. He didn't play football like everyone else. He played it like he was having a conversation with the ball. No-look passes, elasticos out of nowhere. That goal against Chelsea where he didn't even look at the goal. Pure instinct, pure magic. Then there's Juan Román Riquelme. Slower than most midfielders, not the fittest, but his timing, his vision, his understanding of space, unmatched. He'd receive the ball with his back to goal, defenders pressing, and somehow thread a pass through 3 players without even turning around. How? Instinct. Bruno Fernandes takes this to the next level. Watch him play and you'll see a player who constantly attempts the impossible. That no-look pass that splits 3 defenders. That dummy where he lets the ball roll past him to a teammate behind him. The audacious through balls that shouldn't work but somehow do. He doesn't calculate risk. He just feels the moment and goes for it. Here's the thing though. The beauty of the instinctive genius is also their curse. You can't coach instinct. You can't bottle it. When it's off, when the flow isn't there, they can look completely lost. But when it's on, when everything clicks, you're watching football at its purest. No structure, no system, just a player and a ball creating something out of nothing. This is the type of genius you feel in your chest before your brain even catches up. The calculated genius. Ronaldinho played with magic. Xavi Hernandez played with mathematics and geometry. While everyone else is reacting, Xavi's already 3 moves ahead. Watch old Barcelona matches and you'll see something remarkable. He rarely looks rushed, never panicked, but he's not just passing the ball, he's positioning it. That pass to Iniesta, not just to his feet, to his right foot facing forward with space to turn. Every microscopic detail calculated. Sergio Busquets took this even further. People said he was slow, boring, not flashy enough for Barcelona. Those people didn't understand what they were watching. Busquets didn't chase the ball because he already knew where it was going to be. Interceptions that looked effortless were actually the result of reading the game 5 seconds before everyone else. Then there's Toni Kroos. His passing isn't just accurate, it's geometrically perfect. He understands angles the way an architect does. He'll slow the game down when his team needs to breathe, speed it up when there's space to exploit, and he does it all looking like he's barely trying. Paolo Maldini was this genius in defensive form. He didn't need pace in his later years because he'd already calculated where the ball was going. Watch his game back. He doesn't run like a madman, he positions. 1 step left, cuts off the passing lane. 1 step right, the striker's angle is gone. He was a mathematician in a defender's body. And right now, Rodri at Manchester City is the best example of this genius in modern football. He reads passing lanes before they exist, positions himself where the danger is going to be, not where it currently is. City's entire system flows through his calculated intelligence. When he's injured, the whole machine stutters. The calculated genius doesn't need pace, doesn't need tricks. They have something more valuable: time. While everyone else is sprinting, they're walking. While everyone else is thinking, they've already decided. This is the highest form of intelligence. The pass before the assist, the movement that created the space, the decision that unlocked the defense. True intelligence. This is football's highest IQ. Not the most athletic, just the smartest player on the pitch. The chaotic madman. Mario Balotelli once scored 2 goals against Germany in a Euro semi-final, then celebrated by flexing like a bodybuilder. Welcome to chaos. The chaotic genius is football's most frustrating contradiction. World-class talent, 0 consistency. They'll produce a moment of pure magic and then get sent off for something completely avoidable. 1 week they're unplayable, The next week they're on the bench, wondering what happened. Balotelli could do things most strikers dream of, but you never knew which version you were getting. The one who'd dismantle a world-class defense, or the one who'd set off fireworks in his own bathroom. Both existed, often in the same week. Diego Maradona, the greatest player ever for many people. His skill was untouchable, but his career was pure volatility. World Cup glory, the hand of God against England, that solo goal in the same match, and then suspensions, addictions, controversy everywhere he went. The highs were stratospheric, the lows were catastrophic. Even early Zlatan fits here. Before he became the calculated, confident legend we know now, he was unpredictable. Incredible skill, but erratic decisions. He'd try things that made no sense. Sometimes they didn't work, but when they did, unforgettable. Here's what people miss about the chaotic genius. They're not reckless because they're stupid. They're reckless because they're emotional. They play with fire, and fire doesn't care about how you performed in the last game. Coaches love them and hate them, because on their day, they'll win you a match single-handedly, but they can also self-destruct and take the whole team down with them. Brilliant, beautiful, dangerous, exhausting. The obsessive one. Young Cristiano Ronaldo was a tricky winger who loved stepovers. Talented, sure, but not unstoppable, not perfect. And that drove him insane. So he became obsessed. Hours in the gym after training, strict nutrition protocols, ice baths, recovery routines, analyzing his own performances frame by frame, looking for flaws nobody else could see. He turned himself into a machine, not because he had to, because he needed to. The obsessive genius doesn't accept good enough. They can't. Robert Lewandowski has stayed at the top level into his mid-30s because he treated his body like a science project. Sleep optimization, personalized nutrition plans, custom training regimes designed by PhDs. He didn't just want to be good, he wanted to eliminate every possible variable that could make him anything less than peak performance. Erling Haaland, the next generation. This is where it gets wild. You see clips of him meditating before matches, wearing blue light blocking glasses, optimizing his sleep cycles for mental clarity. But it goes deeper, way deeper. Haaland sources raw milk directly from local farmers. Fresh, unpasteurized, nutrients-dense. He's eating raw organ meats, liver, heart, the most bioavailable protein sources humans can consume. This isn't a diet. It's a holistic approach to fueling athletic performance. Red light therapy sessions to accelerate muscle recovery and reduce inflammation. Cold plunges and ice baths for circulation and mental resilience. Sauna sessions for detoxification and cardiovascular health. Stretching protocols that take hours, every single day. He's not just a physical freak, he's biohacked himself to be mentally sharp and physically indestructible. By choice, by obsession. Here's the truth about this type of genius. It works. Ronaldo became one of the greatest ever. Lewandowski scored 41 Bundesliga goals in a single season. Haaland broke the Premier League record in his first year. But obsession always comes with a price. Loneliness, pressure, the inability to switch off. Relationships are a second priority. Normal life sacrificed. Most players can't pay that price. These players do, and they've become something more than the average player. They are inevitable. The mental genius. There's a clip of Diego Costa playing against Gabriel Paulista at Arsenal. Costa's not doing anything obvious, just leaning, whispering, nudging, smiling, and Gabriel completely loses it. Shoves Costa, gets sent off. Arsenal down to 10 men. Chelsea win. Costa didn't even touch the ball in that sequence, and he still won. That's the mental genius. Most footballers play the game on the pitch. These players play the game inside your head. They don't just want to beat you, they want to break you, make you doubt yourself, make you angry, make you scared. Costa would step on your foot, lean on you during corners, and whisper things about your family. And if you reacted, he'd go down. Free kick, yellow card for you. He'd smile while you're screaming at the official. Because now you're not thinking about football, you're thinking about Diego Costa, and you've already lost. Roy Keane was different. He didn't wind you up, he warned you. That stare, that presence. You knew if you went into a 50-50 with him, something was going to hurt. And that hesitation, that split second of doubt, was all he needed. He controlled matches through sheer force of will. If an opponent tried to intimidate his teammates, he'd step in. And suddenly the entire energy of the game shifted. Sergio Ramos, master of the tactical foul, the well-timed push, the stare down after a challenge, and then he'd score a 93rd minute header to win the Champions League. Goalkeepers can be mental geniuses too. Jens Lehmann was absolutely unhinged. Before penalties, he'd pull out a note with the opponent's tendencies, put it back in his sock. Pure mind games. In the 2006 World Cup quarter-final shootout against Argentina, he saved 2 penalties. The strikers were beaten before they even placed the ball. Want a modern example? Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United. Watch how he works referees, how he gets in opponents' heads with constant complaints and nagging, how he makes defenders second-guess themselves. And then there's Emiliano Martinez, the modern master of mental madness. During penalty shootouts, it feels like you're watching a villain origin story in real time. He throws the ball away to make you wait, dances on the goal line, stares you down. The 2022 World Cup final, he was in Kolo Muani's head before the penalty, told Kingsley Coman he looked nervous, even celebrated in front of Dutch players after beating them in the quarter-finals. The mental genius doesn't need to be the best player on the pitch. They just need to make sure that you're not at your best. In a game of fine margins, creating mental chaos in the opposition is pretty genius. The visionary genius. Johan Cruyff once said, "Football is simple, but playing simple football is the hardest thing." Then he spent his entire life proving it. As a player, he redefined what a forward could do, dropping deep, dragging defenders into places they didn't want to go, creating space where there wasn't any. And then, as a coach and thinker, he built an entire philosophy that became the foundation for Barcelona, Spain's national team, and modern football itself. Total football, positional play. The idea that football is about space, not just players. These aren't just tactics, they're a way of thinking about the game that changed everything. Andrea Pirlo turned the defensive midfielder role into poetry. Most players in that position were destroyers, tacklers. Pirlo sat deep and conducted. Long passes, through balls, controlling tempo from 60 yards back. Luka Modric is the perfect example. He's never rushed, never frantic. While everyone else is chasing the game, he's controlling it. He positions his body before the ball even arrives, opens passing lanes with a simple shift of his hips, moves into space that won't be relevant for another 5 seconds. But when it is, he's already there, playing out the scenario he had in his mind all along. Manuel Neuer revolutionized goalkeeping itself. Before him, keepers stayed on their line. Neuer said, "Why?" That 2014 World Cup match against Algeria. He's not in his box. He's at the halfway line, sweeping up through balls like an extra centre-back. He turned the goalkeeper position into something completely different. Now every top team wants a keeper who can play with their feet. That's vision that redefined a role. Here's what separates the visionary genius from everyone else. They don't just master the game as it exists. They see what it could be. The physical genius. Thierry Henry running onto a through ball, corner flag ahead, defender chasing, both at full speed. Henry doesn't run faster, he waits, holds his run, lets the defender commit, feels the exact moment the defender's weight shifts wrong, then explodes. One touch and he glides past. The defender's still trying to figure out what happened. People assume physical players aren't intelligent, that they're just fast or strong and that's enough. Wrong. The best physical players are thinkers who express intelligence through movement. They understand space, timing and rhythm in ways that turn their bodies into weapons. Yaya Toure, 6 feet 2 inches, 90 kilograms, May 7, 2014. Manchester City vs Aston Villa at the Etihad. Toure picks up the ball in his own half. What happens next shouldn't be possible for a man his size. He doesn't sprint, he glides. 4 Villa players try to stop him. He doesn't fight them, just uses his body as a shield, rolling away from challenges without looking. Perfect balance, perfect timing. The acceleration isn't just speed, it's biomechanics. His center of gravity stays low even at full pace. Defenders bounce off him. That's understanding exactly how much space your body controls. Didier Drogba was the ultimate hold-up player. Back to goal, defender pressing, ball in the air. This is where most strikers panic. Not Drogba. He's already processed everything before the ball arrives. Where the defender is, which shoulder he's on, how tight the space is, whether to lay it off or turn. He feels the defender's pressure and adjusts his stance half a second early. Widens his frame, leans his weight just enough that when contact comes, the defender is already off balance. The ball drops, one touch to kill it dead. Body becomes a shield. Drogba lays it off and the attack continues. This happened dozens of times every match against the toughest centre-backs in the world. Vidic, Ferdinand, Carragher, Puyol, they all bounced off him. But here's what separates Drogba from just being strong. He knew when to hold and when to spin. When to lay it off first time and when to take a touch. He read the game through physical contact, used his body as a sensor. Premier League defenders would foul him because they had no other option. In big games, he became a one-man escape route. Every shield, every hold, every turn was calculated. That's athletic intelligence turned into a weapon. Giorgio Chiellini, the dark arts master. Euro 2020 final. Bukayo Saka gets the ball on the halfway line. Open space ahead. Chiellini is 34 years old. This should be over. Except Chiellini already knows what's about to happen. He doesn't try to keep up. He doesn't dive in. He grabs Saka's shirt and pulls him down. Professional foul, yellow card, attack stopped. That split-second calculation. Chiellini understood. He couldn't catch Saka in a foot race. The space behind was dangerous. A yellow card was worth it. He made that decision in 0.3 seconds. That's physical intelligence. Throughout his career at Juventus, Chiellini mastered something most defenders never figure out. How much contact you can make without the referee calling a foul. Shirt pulls that slow attackers down just enough. Body positioning that forces strikers wide without looking like a push. Tactical fouling as an art form. Gareth Bale in his prime. That Copa del Rey final goal against Barcelona, he didn't just outrun Marc Bartra, he outthought him. Deliberately pushed the ball out of bounds because he knew Bartra would assume it was gone. Calculated, brutal, perfect. The physical genius isn't only about having the best body, it's about combining power, movement and intelligence into something that is hard to prepare for.
The master of emotions.
Istanbul, 2005, Champions League final. Liverpool 3-0 down at half-time to AC Milan. Game over. Except Steven Gerrard refused to accept that. He didn't have a brilliant tactical adjustment, didn't suddenly develop new skills. He just decided Liverpool were going to win. Scored the first goal, won the penalty, dragged every single player on that pitch into believing something impossible. And they did it. That's the emotional genius. They elevate teammates through sheer force of belief. Andreas Iniesta did it differently. Quiet, humble, but everyone who played with him talks about the same thing. How he made them feel comfortable, confident, trusted. He'd give you the ball in dangerous areas, and you knew he'd be there if you needed him. That trust created chemistry you can't coach. And when the moment came in the 2010 World Cup final, when Spain needed someone to step up, he didn't freeze. He delivered. That's emotional genius under ultimate pressure. Zinedine Zidane, the calmest genius football's ever seen. You watch footage of him and notice something strange. Everyone around him seems to relax. His presence changed the emotional temperature of matches. Teammates trusted him completely. And in the biggest moments, he produced magic. That volley in the Champions League final, World Cup '98, Euro 2000. He rose when gravity pulled everyone else down. Modern example? Virgil van Dijk at Liverpool. Yes, he's an incredible defender. But what makes him truly special is how he makes everyone around him better through pure confidence. Defenders beside him play above their level because they trust him completely. The entire backline is calmer when he's there. That's leadership you can't teach. This isn't about passion or shouting. It's about connection, reading the emotional state of a match and shifting it, making players believe in something bigger than themselves. Football isn't just tactics and technique. It's people, energy, belief. Some players understand that better than anyone else.
The lazy one. Dimitar Berbatov could have been one of the true greats. That may sound far off, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but hear me out. Berbatov had everything. Sublime first touch, could finish from anywhere, technique that made difficult things look effortless. But he played like he'd just woken up from a nap. No urgency, no desperation. He'd score an outrageous goal and look completely unbothered. People called him lazy, and they were probably right. He never ran like a madman. But here's what they missed. Berbatov himself said it best. I was running in my head. While everyone else was sprinting around like headless chickens, he was scanning, positioning, finding pockets of space where he'd have time on the ball. He explained it once. Sometimes you would see I might not be into the game, but at the same time I was scanning the pitch to see where to position myself at the right moment, at the right time in a pocket of space. And then he'd drop this line. If you are clever in your head, even if you are slow in speed, you can still be quick. He wasn't lazy, he was efficient. Why chase the ball when you can be exactly where it's going to be? Why exhaust yourself when intelligence can do the work? He admitted that in his Tottenham team he'd probably be last in a running ranking, but he'd also say, when I see someone in a better position than me, I always give the ball. No selfishness. In the end, we win and lose together. The problem? Fans and teammates didn't always understand. He said it himself. In every team I have been in, you see my style of play, and sometimes fans and players don't understand that and they become a bit afraid of it, like I am not helping and not good for the team. But here's the thing, when it worked, it was beautiful. Berbatov didn't sacrifice everything for the game. When it didn't work, it was equally frustrating to watch. Mesut Ozil, one of the most gifted playmakers of his generation. That assist where he didn't even look, the pass to Ronaldo, pure vision. But as his career went on, you could see it. He wasn't desperate to prove himself anymore. The hunger faded, and eventually it caught up to him. Adriano hurts the most. He was supposed to be the next Ronaldo. For 2 years at Inter Milan, he looked unstoppable, powerful, fast, incredible shot. And then personal tragedy hit. Depression, loss of motivation. The talent was still there, the desire wasn't. We saw glimpses of this with Paul Pogba, World Cup winner, incredible ability, but the consistency never matched the talent. Was it lack of desire? Wrong systems? Maybe both. The sadness is watching genius drift because the right amount of commitment isn't there to anchor it. The lazy genius is both tragic and beautiful. We witness the art while imagining what could have been if they'd wanted it even more, if they'd fought harder. But maybe that's the wrong way to think about it. Maybe talent doesn't always need to burn bright. Maybe some people are blessed with ability and choose to live differently. There's something quietly beautiful about that, even if it breaks your heart as a fan. Casual brilliance. Football is something you're good at, not something you die for.
The system genius. People have spent 15 years trying to figure out what position Thomas Müller plays. He wasn't particularly fast, not in the technical elite, and yet Bayern Munich and Germany were consistently better when he's on the pitch. Why? Because Müller understands something most players never grasp. Football isn't about what you do with the ball, it's about what you do without it. He drags defenders into bad positions, creates gaps for teammates, makes runs that pull the entire defensive structure out of shape. It's genius hiding in plain sight, the kind most people miss because it doesn't show up in highlight reels. N'Golo Kante, similar story. Not the most technical midfielder, doesn't dictate tempo like Kroos, but his positioning and running is supernatural. He's in 2 places at once. Leicester won the Premier League with him. Chelsea won the title the next year. France won the World Cup. Everywhere he goes, teams improve. Not because of what he does individually, because of what he enables collectively. Even Jordan Henderson in his time at Liverpool, not flashy, but he understood Klopp's system perfectly, covered spaces, made runs that created room for Salah and Mane, communicated constantly. The machine functioned because he was the part nobody noticed. Casemiro at Real Madrid. Everyone focused on Modric and Kroos, but Casemiro was the foundation. He won the ball back, protected the defense, let the other two play freely because they trusted him completely. Right now at Tottenham, you're seeing this with Rodrigo Bentancur. Not the most talked about midfielder, doesn't get the headlines, but watch Spurs with him versus without him. The system just flows differently. He covers ground, makes himself available, links play. The collective improves because he understands his role isn't to shine, it's to make everyone else shine. The systemic genius sacrifices individual glory for collective success. They don't need the spotlight, they just need the team to work. And they make it work by understanding the game at a level most people never see. Not individual brilliance, collective intelligence. Genius that hides in plain sight, in how comfortable the team looks, in how everything just flows. Maybe the purest form of all, because it's not about them, it's about everyone. So what even is genius in football? Turns out it's not one thing, it's 10. Master just one, and you change the game forever. Which type of genius is your favorite player? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more football explained like this, hit subscribe. You won't regret it.